Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Gopi Jan Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Jan Vallabha Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vyasadeva Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jam Vishnupad Paramhans Prabhupada Stottar Sat Shri Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Savai Charanand Bhakti Vedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki ISKCON founder Acharya BBT founder Acharya Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jam Vishnupad Paramhans Prabhupada Stottar Sat Shri Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Pariksit ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की नवदीप मायापुर धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा मैया की यमुना मैया की भक्ति देवी की तुलसी महारानी की समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की शील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की शील प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की निताय गौर परमानंदे all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So just like every Ekadasi, this Ekadasi also we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta, volume 2, entitled as Planting the Seeds. And we are reading from chapter number 2, starting. We just completed the headline of that. Chapter 2, Butler, Pennsylvania, the first testing ground. So before starting, we'll start with the prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vande Aham Shri Guraha Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Visakhanvitam Sha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati iti namine. Shri Varsabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha. Madhuryo Jwala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Sakti Vigrahaya Namostute. Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine. Namo Gauri Kisoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamvara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidanande Namine Gaura Sakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate. Gaura Virvava Bhumestvam Nirdeshta Sajjan Priya Vaisnava Sarvabhauma Sri Jagannathayate Namaha. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya krishna prema pradayate krishnaya krishna chaitanya namane gauritvase namaha. Panchatattvatmakam krishnam bhaktarupa swarupakam bhaktavataram bhaktakyam namami bhakti saktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Jaitam Surtau Pangur Mama Manda Matergati Mat Sarvasva Padam Vojau Radha Madan Mohano. Devyad Vindaranya Kalpudramadha Śrīmad-Ratnāgara Simhāsanisto Śrīmad Radha Śrīla Govinda Devo Prestalavi Sevamano Smarami. Śrīman Rasarasarambi Vamsi Vatitadai Sthita Karsadver और स्वनर गोपेर गोपीनाथा श्री स्तना तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So in the last Ekadasi, we had read that how Srila Prabhupada voyaged in ship, and he completed his journey in the ship, and then he came to New York Harbor. His ship was docked at that place, and then he has to take a bus to go to Butler. So that's what we had seen. And now in this particular chapter, we will see that how Srila Prabhupada only sponsor in US, that was Gopal Agrawal, how his stay in his home, and how Srila Prabhupada was so much tolerant, being so much inconvenient, but still he was such an easy guest. As the story unfolds, we will see that. So are we there, Ru? Okay. So the bus, so now Srila Prabhupada had purchased a ticket for the bus, and he's having a bus trip to Butler. Butler is a place where Pennsylvania is there, and Pennsylvania was the place where Srila Prabhupada had a sponsor, Gopal Agrawal. So Pennsylvania, he had to go to Pennsylvania, and for that he had to first catch a bus to Butler, and in Butler station, bus station, there will be sponsor Gopal Agrawal, and his family must be waiting for Srila Prabhupada. So let us start. The bus came swinging out of the terminal into the daylight of midtown Manhattan, riding along in the shadows of skyscrapers, through asphalt streets crowded with people, trucks, and automobiles, and into the heavy traffic bound toward the Lincoln Tunnel. The bus entered the tunnel and emerged on the Jersey side of the Hudson River, continuing down the New York refineries. New York, Jersey run like past fields of huge oil tanks and sprawling refineries. The Manhattan skyline was on the left, while 3 lanes of traffic sped 60 miles an hour in each direction. Newark Airport came up close by on the right, with jets visible on the ground. Electric power lines spanning aloft between steel towers stretched into the horizon. Srila Prabhupada had never before witnessed anything of such magnitude. He was now seeing for himself that American culture was based on the passion for more and more sense gratification, and it was a scene of madness. For what important business were people rushing to and fro at breakneck speed? He could see that goals advertised on the billboards. Of course, he had many times traveled the road from Delhi to Vrindavan, but it didn't have many advertisements. A traveler would see mostly the land, roadside streams, temples, homes, farmers in their fields. Most people went on foot or traveled by ox cart or bicycle, and in Vrindavan, even the ordinary passerby greeted each other by calling the names of God. Jai Radhe, Hare Krishna. Now there were factories outside Delhi, but nothing like this. The cumulating effect did not pack nearly the materialistic punch of these fields of oil tank, mammoth factories, and billboards alongside the crowded superhighway. Of course, if you go today, if you go from, there is a Yamuna Expressway, if you go from there, from Delhi to Mathura, and then it's a lot of signboards are there, but in 1960s, 1970s, there were no billboards. So, but however, billboards are one of the most important factor in spoiling the consciousness of the people. Just like one time, His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj was asked that what is the secret of your spiritual life? And then Maharaj told that whenever I travel, I never see any billboard. So, because billboards are, they spoil what we don't want. It inspires us, it induces us, it compels us to purchase and use it, what we don't need. So, billboards are it's one of the most important factor in breaking the Vedic culture. The cumulating effect, meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, the very sins Srila Prabhupada had come to preach against were proudly glamorized on mile after mile of billboards. The signs promoted liquor and cigarettes. Roadside restaurants offered slaughtered cows in the form of steaks and hamburgers. And no matter what the product, it was usually advertised by a lusty-looking woman. And you can see today in India also, whatever, like MRF tire. What a woman has to do with that. Similarly, incense sticks incense sticks advertised by woman. What a woman has to do with that? But then this is the corporates. This is how corporate works. So just to, if you go to any reception, anywhere, everywhere, it is advertised by the woman, so that people can become lusty and they can purchase what they don't need. But Prabhupada had come to teach the opposite, that happiness is not found in the passion for sense gratification, and that only when one becomes detached from the mode of passion, which leads to sinful acts, can one become eligible for the eternal happiness of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada felt compassion. The compassion of a Krishna conscious saint had been explained in age long ago by Prahlad Maharaj. So this is the very famous verses which Prahlad Maharaj told to whom? Sorry? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He prayed to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and Lord Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam asked, what do you want? And of course, one time we know this famous verse, Yadi dasasi me kaman baram so badram visav. He says that if you want to give me, I don't want anything. And then he says like this. Can you open this? 7, 9, I think 7, 9, 42. This 42 and 43, very important verses. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Are we there, Prabhu? 43. Okay. Please repeat. Nevo duje par duratyaya vaitaranyas Tadavir gayan mahamrita magna chitta Sochetato vimukha chetasa indriyartha Maya sukhaya varam udvato vimudhan. Yeah, so he says, O West of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thought of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. And the next verse is also important. Please repeat. Prayena deva munaya swam vimukti kama Maunam charanti vijanena pararthanishta Netan vihaya kripanan vimumukcha eko Nanyam tadasya saranam brahmato nupasye. So he says here, Prayena means generally it is seen. What? Deva means he's addressing the Lord. Munaya, that those who are rishis, Swavimukti kama, what do they desire? They are desiring for Swavimukti, they are desiring for their own liberation. And what do? Maunam charanti vijanena pararthanishta. Maunam charanti, they silently, charanti, they wander. And Prabhupada writes in the word-to-word meaning that they wander to the Himalayas. Maunam, silently. Na pararthanishta. Na means not, para means others. Artha means for the sake of others. Nishtha, they don't have anything to do with the others. They are just worried about their liberation. Netan vihaya kripanan vimoksha eko. But how can I? Netan means, na means not, etan means this. Vihaya means give up. How can I give up? Kripanan. Kripanan means was miserly people. Vimoksha eko. And eko means only I am. If I only desire liberation, and how can I give up the miserly people? Nanyam tadasya saranam brahmato nupasye. And these people will wander in this world. How can I do that? I go alone to the spiritual world and I leave these miserly people, foolish people into this material world. How can I do that? I am not like the people who are wandering alone for the sake of their own liberation. I am not like that. So who is saying like that? Prahlad Maharaj. And we see the same thing, same mood which Srila Prabhupada also depicted. Srila Prabhupada was staying in Vrindavan. He could of course, he don't have to go. He is from the spiritual world. But then he felt compassion for the others, and for that matter, he took so much of inconvenience in his life. Couldn't see the suffering people. Couldn't see. Just like Advaita, we are celebrating now Gaur Purnima. Just like Advaita Acharya roared that now, Lord, you have to appear. People are suffering. People are going to hell. If you don't appear, I will finish them off. And Lord was sleeping nicely. And how he prayed, so loudly he prayed, and then Lord woke up. And then Lord has to appear in order to reply the prayers of Advaita Acharya. So similarly, saintly people feel compassion over the suffering humanity. And that's what Srila Prabhupada's compassion personified. Compassion personified. We will see some of the pastimes in this. The scenery gradually changed to the Pennsylvania countryside, and the bus sped through vast tunnels. We have read already this translation, so no need to read it again. The scenery gradually changed to the Pennsylvania countryside, and the bus sped through long tunnels in the mountains. Night came, and it was late, after 11, when the bus entered the heavily industrialized Pittsburgh area on the shore of the Allegheny River. Srila Prabhupada couldn't see the street mills clearly, but he could see their lights and their industrial fires as smoking stacks. Millions of lights shone throughout the city's prevailing dinginess. When the bus finally pulled into the terminal, it was past midnight. Gopal Agrawal was waiting with a family box wagon bus to drive Prabhupada's butler about 1 hour north. He greeted Prabhupada with folded palms and welcome Swamiji, bowing from the waist several times. Bowing from the waist. He did not taste the feet of Prabhupada. He could touch. But now that's how culture has degraded. Earlier people used Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki jai, Shri Shri Gaunitai Bhagwan ki jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So earlier the culture was people used to do Dandavat Pranam. One time His Grace Chaitanya Prabhu was saying like this. So earlier people used to do full Dandavat Pranam. And then culture came, don't do Dandavat Pranam, at least touch the feet of elders. Then they started touching the feet of people. And then they don't touch the feet of people because they are jeans and pants, they couldn't bend, so they started touching the knees. And then slowly that come to waist also, they started touching the waist. And now who will bend that much? So they will say, now in Baravaldi they will say Dandavat Pranam. And who will tell Dandavat Pranam so long? Dandavat. And that Dandavat is also not there now, Dand. So things are becoming so much short. People find so much shortcut even in a spiritual life. But can we cheat Krishna? We cannot. There is no shortcut to spiritual life. We have to do Dandavat Pranam rather than saying. We see even many people coming to our temple, they say, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. What is the meaning of saying like this? There is no meaning, Dandavat Pranam. Either just say Hare Krishna, and there is no meaning otherwise saying Dandavat Pranam. Otherwise, things will become so much adulterated. If we do like that, we say Dandavat Pranam and don't do it, things will become so much adulterated. Slowly it will happen it will come to a point, people will not do anything, just verbally he will happen everything. Prabhuji, will you like to have prasadam? Anyways, you don't want. So it will become like that. I know that you have taken already at the home, so you will not take. This was not any of Gopal's doing. His father, a Mathura businessman with a fondness for sadhus and religious causes, had requested him to host the Swamiji. This wasn't the first time his father had arranged for a sadhu acquaintance to come to America. Several times he had sent sponsorship papers for Gopal to sign, and Gopal had obediently done so, but nothing had ever come of them. So when the sponsorship letter for A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami had come, Gopal had promptly signed and returned it, thinking that this would be the last they would hear of it. But when just a week ago a letter had come, Sally Agrawal had opened it and then in alarm called to her husband, "Honey, sit down, listen to this, the Swamiji is coming." Srila Prabhupada had enclosed his picture so that they would not mistake him. The Agrawals had looked curiously at the photograph. There will be no mistake there, Gopal had said. The unsuspecting Agrawals were simple American people, according to Sally Agrawal, who had met her Indian husband while he was working and as an engineer in Pennsylvania. What would they do with an Indian Swami in their house? Prabhupada was a shock for them. But there was no question of not accepting him. They were bound by the request of Gopal's father. Dutifully, Gopal had purchased Srila Prabhupada tickets from New York to Pittsburgh and had arranged for that agent from Traveler's Aid to meet him. And dutifully, he had driven tonight to meet him. So it was with a mixture of embarrassment, disbelief, and wonder that Gopal Agrawal helped his guest into the Volkswagen and drove back home to Butler. So Prabhupada has only single sponsor, and that was also in a state of embarrassment, disbelief, and wonder, because they never thought that Swamiji would come. They thought maybe others people also wrote so many letters like that, but nobody came. So Swamiji is also not going to come. But they were wondered that Swamiji is coming. So only single sponsor in America, and that also not so much ready. September 20, Butler, Pennsylvania, home of the Jeep, read a granite plaque in the city park. Butler, famous as a town where the US Army Jeep was invented in 1940, was an industrial city of 20,000 settled amidst the hills of an area rich in oil, coal, gas, and limestone. Its industry consisted mainly of factories for plate glass, railroad cars, refrigerators, oil equipment, and rubber goods. 90% of the local laborers were Native Americans. The nominal religion had always been Christian, mostly Protestant, with some Catholic, and later years a few synagogues had appeared. But there was no Hindu community at that time. Gopal Agrawal was the first Indian to move to Butler. As the Volkswagen bus pulled into town, the pre-dawn air was warm and humid. The morning edition of the Butler Eagle would soon be going to newsstand. Red Chinese fire on India. Prime Minister Sastry declares Chinese communists out to dominate world. United Nations Council demands Pakistan and India cease fire in 48 hours. So such are the news in Butler Eagle. Srila Prabhupada arrived at Agrawal's home, Sterling apartment at 4 a.m. and Gopal invited him to sleep on the couch. Sleep on the couch. Can you imagine? You are inviting a guest in India and then make him sleep on the couch. But this is how American culture was. Their place, a townhouse apartment, consisted of a small living room, a dining room, a kitchenette, 2 upstairs bedroom, and a bath. Here they lived with their 2 young children. Anyone knows the 2 children name? Of course, we'll come to know that. But as of now, anybody knows what is the 2 children name of Gopal Agrawal? It's important for us because Prabhupada, they had played with Prabhupada. Anybody knows? The 2 children name of Gopal Agrawal. Okay, so we will see that. But it's important whomever Prabhupada came into contact with, it's important. Just like we see in 9th canto, there are so many kings' name and everything, so many things are there. Why it is important for us? Why should we hear that? Because it is related to Krishna. Similarly, what is related to Prabhupada, it's important for us. The Agrawals had lived a Butler for a few years now and felt themselves established in a good social circle. Since their apartment had so little space, they decided that it would be better if the Swami took a room at the YMCA and came to visit them during the day. Of course, living space wasn't the real difficulty, it was him. How would he fit into the Butler's atmosphere? He was their guest, so they would have to explain him to their friends and neighbors. So in order to avoid the inconvenience of people will ask, who is this Indian Swami into your house? So in order to avoid that, they wanted Srila Prabhupada to shift to another place where he could come every day and night time he could stay there. So such is the welcome of Srila Prabhupada there. Srila Prabhupada was immediately a curiosity for whoever saw him. In anxiety, Mrs. Agrawal decided that instead of having people speculate about the strange man in orange robes living at her house, it would be better to let them know about him from the newspapers. She explained her plan to Prabhupada, who laughed, understanding that he didn't fit in. So Prabhupada could understand that he was inconvenience for them. Sally hurried off to a Pittsburgh newspaper office, but the interviewer was not able to comprehend why this person should make an interesting story. If it could have been corruption, it could have been anything, they could have published. But when Swamiji is coming, why they can publish? Because it's not their story. Who is going to read that? Sally then took him to the local Butler Eagle, where his presence was accepted as indeed newsworthy. September 22nd, a feature article appeared in the Butler Eagle. In fluent English, devotee of Hindu cult explains commission to visit the West. A photographer had come to Agrawal's apartment and had taken a picture of Srila Prabhupada standing in the living room holding an open volume of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The caption read, "The Ambassador of Bhakti Yoga." The article began, "A slight brown man in faded orange drapes and wearing white bathing shoes stepped out of compact car yesterday into the Butler YMCA to attend a meeting. He is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swamiji, a messenger from India to the peoples of West." The articles refer to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as biblical literature. It's like, just like Bible, it's like that, biblical literature. And to Srila Prabhupada as a learned teacher, it continued. My mission is to receive a people's God consciousness, sorry, not receive. My mission is to revive a people's God consciousness, says the Swamiji. God is the father of all human beings, all living beings in thousands of different forms. He explains, human life is a stage of perfection in evolution. If we miss the message, back we go through the process again. He believes Bhaktivedanta lives as a monk and permits no woman to touch his food. On a 6-week ocean voyage and at the Agrawal apartment in Butler, he prepares his meals in a brass pan with separate labels of steaming rice, vegetables, and making bread at the same time. He is a strict vegetarian and is permitted to only drink milk, the miracle food for the babies and old men. How can you imagine a young man taking bread and milk? I mean, that's what, right? Yeah, milk and bread, that's in America. How can you imagine a young man taking like that? Because nobody did that. People used to take meat. But that was something which is available, which was thought of, it is a meal for the small children or old men who cannot take meat because they don't have the digestive power to eat. He noted if Americans would give more attention to their spiritual life, they would be much happier, he says. The Agrawals had their own opinion as to why Prabhupada had come to America to finance his books, and nothing more. They were sure that he was hoping only to meet someone who could help him with the publication of his Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and that he did not want any followers. At least they hoped he wouldn't do anything to attract attention, and they felt that this was his mentality also. He didn't create waves. Sally Agrawal says, he didn't want any crowd. He didn't want anything. He only wanted to finance his books. Perhaps Prabhupada, seeing their nervousness, agreed to keep a low profile out of consideration for his host. So of course Prabhupada had not started full-fledged preaching yet. So they thought he doesn't want anything. He's just came to finance his books so that somebody can get his books published, and that's it. Because Prabhupada was keeping low profile still. Low profile in the sense, he's not full-fledged preaching still. At Prabhupada's request, however, Mr. Agrawal held a kind of open house in his apartment every night from 6 to 9. Now Sally Agrawal says, Sally Agrawal is the wife of Gopal Agrawal. It was quite an intellectual group that we were in, and they were fascinated by him. They hardly knew what to ask him. They didn't know enough. This was just like a dream out of a book. Who would expect to meet a Swami in someone's living room in Butler, Pennsylvania? It was just really tremendous. In the middle of middle-class America, my parents came from quite a distance to see him. So it's like, something very strange for the Americans. And now when Prabhupada came there, everybody is coming to their house to see because they have never seen such a thing. So like that. Just like if you see in our childhood, there used to, how many of you seen Bhairupiya? Bhairupiya. Yeah, Bhairupiya, like people, Bhairupiya used to come, right? Bhairupiya मतलब जो अलग-अलग ड्रेस पहन के आते थे अलग-अलग रूपों में, कभी है ना, देखे होंगे ना सबने, तो सब बच्चे और जितना भी लोग होते थे सब उनको देखने आते थे क्योंकि वो कभी देखा नहीं है ऐसा चीज, तो वैसा था. तो वैसे ही Prabhupada, no one had seen Swamiji, no one has seen Indian Swami, so Prabhupada was like that for them. So everybody is coming to see Srila Prabhupada there. He had a typewriter, which was one of his few possessions, and an umbrella. That was one of the things that caused a sensation, that he always carried an umbrella. It was chilly and was building, so he always wore this hat that someone had made for him, like a swimming cap. It was a kind of sensation, and he was so brilliant that when he saw someone twice, he knew who they were. He remembered he was a brilliant man. Or if he met them in our apartment and saw them in a car, he would remember their name. He would wave and say their name. He was a brilliant man. All the people liked him. They were amazed at how intelligent he was. The thing that got them was the way he remembered their name. and his humorous way. He looked so serious all the time, but he was a very humorous person. He was forbidding in his looks, but he was very charming. So Srila Prabhupada was very intelligent, very, very intelligent. Just like one time he saw someone and he used to remember their names. Similarly, I was hearing about some other devotee also like that. I forgot. Maybe some Maharaj. Huh? His name is Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, right? Yeah, so he used to just meet once or twice and then he used to remember. Yes, His Grace Chaitanya was saying one time that Chaitanya told Maharaj once, he requested Maharaj once that, that we have in SVNIT, we have our center. So if you can request your disciple, Vivek Bindra, Venugopal Prabhu, to come and give a session, so it will be very inspiring for the boys, and then we can continue our another sessions. So just casually, Prabhuji told him, and then Maharaj remembered it after 6 months, 7 months. Maharaj called Prabhuji, and then he told that now Venugopal Prabhu is with me, you can talk with him. And Prabhuji was so shocked that how can Maharaj remember? Maharaj has hundreds of things to do. How could Maharaj remember after 6-7 months that Prabhuji wanted such a thing? And so that's what. So Maharaj was very intelligent that way. Similarly, we see in the even Srila Prabhupada was very, very intelligent. He remembered the people once he saw them. He was the easiest guest I have had in my life, because when I couldn't spend time with him, he chanted. And I knew he was perfectly happy. When I couldn't talk to him, he chanted. He was so easy, though, because he knew I was never bored. I never felt any pressure or tension about having him. He was so easy that when I had to take care of the children, he would just chant. It was so great. When I had to do things, he would just be happy chanting. He was a very good guest. When the people would come, they were always smoking cigarettes. But he would say, pay no attention. Think nothing of it. That's what he said. Think nothing of it. Because he knew we were different. I didn't smoke in front of him. I knew I wasn't supposed to smoke in front of Gopal's father. So I sort of considered him the same. He didn't make any problems for anybody. So you see that, however they are meat eaters and they are not at all devotional, but still they could appreciate the qualities of Srila Prabhupada. That's how a devotee means. Dhira dhira jana priyo priya karo nirmat saro pujito. So devotee is not just, in our cases we are not even dear to devotees only, but to speak of non-devotees. We have so many grudges with the devotees itself, right? But a pure devotee means he not only to the devotees he will be dear, but even to the non-devotees also. Just like many times we have heard about Jayanand Prabhu. When Jayanand Prabhu left, even the karmis, those who were at shopkeepers, they were crying, remembering Jayanand Prabhu, that how compassionate and how much sadhu he was. His qualities, being a sadhu, everybody could appreciate. So similarly, even though they are flesh eaters, they did not have anything to do with devotion, but still they could appreciate the qualities of Srila Prabhupada, which Srila Prabhupada showed when he was in their homes. And he was such an easy guest. Easy guest, understand? Easy guest means you don't take any tension. He will be comfortable. Just like when we go to someone's house, it may be very problematic. But Srila Prabhupada was a very easy guest. No one has to take any tension for Srila Prabhupada. One evening, a guest asked Prabhupada, what do you think of Jesus Christ? And Prabhupada replied, he is the Son of God. And then he added that the guest was also Son of God. So many times there are videos of, many times people say, Srila Prabhupada your Prabhupada is saying Jesus as the Son of God. But they don't accept Mirabai and all that. And there are videos like that. But in that way, Prabhupada is saying everybody is Son of God. So what is the problem in saying like this, right? People make so much, nowadays there is so much propaganda after, there are people who are after ISKCON. They are making so many videos just to defame ISKCON, just to have some publicity, just to have some subscribers on YouTube. And then whatever is quality, that also they are defaming. They are taking it as like fault. It is a quality of Srila Prabhupada and they are taking it as a fault. So that's how people don't have anything to do. They have so much free time to waste. Gopal, his intent was not to have you change your way of life. He wasn't telling anybody they should be vegetarian or anything. All he wanted you to do was to follow what you are, but be better. He didn't stress that we should give up many things. Srila Prabhupada followed a regulated daily schedule.
Every morning he would walk the 6 or 7 blocks from the YMCA to Sterling apartment, arriving there about 7. What he had first landed in New York. He had in his luggage a large bundle of dried cereal, similar to the rolled oats. The supply was enough for several weeks, and every morning at breakfast he would take some with milk. At 7:45, Gopal would leave for work, and about 9:30, Prabhupada would start preparing his lunch in the kitchen. He made his chapatis by hand, without even a rolling pin. Without rolling pin. I don't know how many of you have seen, but definitely you must have seen your mothers, right? हाथ से बनाते हैं ऐसे ऐसे करके. That's how Prabhupada was making, but rolling pin was not there. At 11:30 he took prasadam. Sally. When he cooked, he used only one burner. The bottom level pot created the steam. He had the dal on the bottom and it created the steam to cook many other vegetables. So for about a week he was cooking this great big lunch, which was ready about 11:30, and Gopal always come home for lunch about 12. I used to serve Gopal a sandwich. Prabhupada is having a big lunch and Gopal is being served only a sandwich. This is a civilization. This is a, people say that we are so advanced, and giving a sandwich. And then he would go back to work. But it didn't take me long to realize that the food that Swami was cooking, we would enjoy too. So he started cooking that noon meal for all of us. Oh, and we enjoyed it so much. Now Prabhupada is starting preaching with his prasadam. Our fun was to show him what we knew of America. And he had never seen such things. It was such fun to take him to the supermarket. He loved opening the package of okra or frozen beans. And he didn't have to clean them and cut them to and do all things. He opened the freezer every day and just chose his items. It was fun to watch him. He sat on the couch while I swept with the vacuum cleaner, and he was so interested in that, and we talked for a long time about that. He was so interesting. So every day he would have this big feast. Prabhupada used to make it right from the beginning, when he doesn't have anything. Still he doesn't have anything, but still he started making big feast. And everything was great fun. We really enjoyed it. It would help him cut the things. I would help him cut the things. He would spice it and we would laugh. He was the most enjoyable man. I really felt like a sort of daughter to him, even in such a short time. Like he was my father-in-law. He was friend of my father-in-law, but I really felt very close to him. He enjoyed everything. I liked him. I thought he was tremendous. So Prabhupada just stayed. How much time he stayed there? Just for 1 month. Just for 1 month, Prabhupada became so much close, they became so much comfortable with Prabhupada that when we'll see that, then when Prabhupada was leaving, they were kind of literally crying actually. They were feeling so sad that Prabhupada is leaving now. So just in 1 month, he became so much familiar, not familiar, but in the sense he became a part of their family. After lunch, Prabhupada would leave about 1 p.m. and walk to YMCA, where the Agrawals figured he must have worked at his writing until 5. He would come back to their apartment about 6 in the evening after they had taken their meal. They ate meat, so Mrs. Agrawal was careful to have it cleared away before he came. When one night he came early, she said, "Oh Swamiji, we have just cooked meat, and the smell will be very disagreeable to you." But he said, "Oh, think nothing of it. Think nothing of it." This, Srila Prabhupada was so much tolerant. The same freezer where he used to store his vegetables for making prasadam, the same freeze they used to store their meat, and Prabhupada was tolerating it. So similarly, we know another pastime when once Srila Prabhupada was flying along with Pushta Krishna Swami Maharaj. So there were some people who were very rowdy, and they were making a lot of noise, and they were smoking also. So then Pushta Krishna Swami Maharaj called air hostess that tell them not to smoke in the aeroplane. And then she told them that don't smoke. But they were too rowdy. They started doing it again. They stopped it for some time and they started smoking again. And Pushta Krishna Swami Maharaj was being so impatient, so intolerant. And then he was again going to tell air hostess. Prabhupada stopped him and Prabhupada told, "What is the difference between them and us if you cannot tolerate?" Understand? So if we can't tolerate this much, let them smoke. If we have to tolerate. If we can't smoke, we can't tolerate that much, then what is the difference between us and them? So a devotee is supposed to be tolerant for personal inconvenience. You're supposed to tolerate. And Prabhupada tolerated many times. We have the rest is the history. You can read about Lilamrta 6th volume, 5th volume, 4th volume, where there are a lot of instances where Prabhupada tolerated so much. In the evening, he would speak with guests. The guest would usually take coffee and other refreshment, but he would request a glass of warm milk at 9 o'clock. He would stay speaking until 9:30 or 10, and then Mr. Agrawal would drive him back to YMCA. Prabhupada would also do his laundry every day. He washed his clothes in the Agrawal's bathroom and hung them to dry outside. He sometimes accompanied the Agrawals to the laundromat and was interested to see how Americans washed and dried their clothes. Prabhupada was interested in everything. To Sally, he seemed very interested in the American ways and people. Sally, our boy, so now the name of that boy is Braj. You can remember this. Our boy Braj was 6 or 7 months old when the Swami came, and the Indians love boys. The Swami liked Braj. He was there when Braj first stood. The first time Braj made the attempt and actually succeeded, the Swami stood up and clapped. It was a festival. It was a celebration. Another time, our baby teethed on Swami's shoes. I thought, oh, these shoes, they have been all over India, and my kid is chewing on them. You know how a mother would feel. But you see how fortunate he was to chew the Prabhupada's shoes. However, Sally could not realize at that time. Maybe, I don't know whether she realized later on or not, but he was very fortunate to chew the shoes of Srila Prabhupada, right? Just like we see even the Vrindavandas Thakur's mother, Narayani Devi, she was taking the remnants of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that's how Vrindavandas Thakur appeared. So fortunate to get the remnants, to get the lotus feet, dust of sadhu, which he was getting. Almost every night, he used to sit in the next door neighbor's backyard. We sat out these sometimes with him, or we stayed in the living room. One time, something happened with our little girl, Pamela. So, the Braj and Pamela, who was only 3 years old. I used to take her to Sunday school, and she learned about Jesus in Sunday school. Then when she would see Swamiji with his robes and everything, she called him Swami Jesus. Because that's what they know. That's what they know. The spiritual means Jesus, Swami Jesus. And this one time when it first dawned on us what she was saying, she called his Swami Jesus, and Swami smiled and said, and a little child said, lead them. It was so funny. Prabhupada spoke to various groups in the community. He spoke at Lions Club in early October and received a formal document. Be it known that A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami was guest at Lions Club of Butler, PA, and as an expression of appreciation for services rendered, the club tenders his acknowledgement. He also gave a talk at the Y and St. Fidelis Seminary College in Herman, Pennsylvania, and he spoke regularly to guests at Agrawal's home. When Professor Larsen, the chairman of the philosophy department at Slippery Rock State College, read in the Butler Eagle of visiting Indian Swami and Vedic scholar, he found the Agrawal's home to invite Prabhupada to lecture or campus. Alan Larson. I called the number given in the newspaper article, but it turned out that the Swamiji was actually staying in the room at YMCA. When I arrived, he was waiting on the street corner, and I picked him up. He seemed very much alone. When we were driving to Slippery Rock, I asked him to pronounce his name for me. So it would have been right when I introduced him to my class. He said, Swami Bhaktivedanta. And then he proceeded to tell me what that meant. Since I was not used to Indian names, he had to repeat it several times before I got it right. So I remember 2 years back, we went to Ahobilam, and with his grace Sachinandan Prabhu, and Sachinandan Prabhu was taking such names of South Indian devotees, alvars. It was so difficult for us to even just to understand what the name is. And Prabhuji was taking so big names of this alvar, that alvar. We were so shocked. So similarly here also, Sri Prabhupada is telling his name, and it was not normal for them to have such Sanskrit names, Bhaktivedanta Swami. They were not so habituated for this. Since I was not used to Indian names, he had to repeat it several times before I got it right. He showed no impatience with my slowness. Even At this early junction of our association, I was convinced that this man had an inner stability and strength that would be very difficult to shake. And this initial impression was further reinforced throughout the rather busy day. 100 students from several classes are gathered to hear the lecture as Prabhupada, in his natural, unrehearsed manner, unrehearsed. Prabhupada doesn't used to do rehearsal for giving lectures. He is a natural speaker. Walked down the aisle up the 3 wooden steps and onto the plain wooden stage. He sat down, erect and cross-legged, and began softly singing Hare Krishna, his eyes closed. So you see that Satsuru Swami Maharaj is describing every single thing. Even as cross-legged he's sitting, that also he's being described by Maharaj. This is how a poet or a writer means. He writes. Now Maharaj was not there at that time, right? But how he could understand all these things by interviewing so many devotees, interviewing so many people around, and then he could write in such a perfect way. Everything is there. What is the color of verse, everything. Everything he has written. Sorry? Yeah. Unto the plain wooden stand, he sat down, erect and cross-legged, and began softly singing Hare Krishna, and his eyes closed. Then he stood and spoke without a lectern or microphone. Even this much detail, that he didn't have microphone, everything. And answered questions from the audience. The program lasted only 50 minutes and ended abruptly with a bell signaling the next class. Can you imagine? Everything is there. The bell rang and it stopped abruptly. So this is how, no, it's not that, everything they have to know. What the devotee, when they want to write something, the more knowledge is revealed in their heart, right? When even Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that I'm invalid man, I'm an old man, at the top of that I'm invalid, so I cannot write. But whatever Nityanand Prabhu and whatever Lord Chaitanya will reveal in my heart, I will write that. So knowledge is revealed. This spiritual knowledge is revealed. So what Maharaj is writing about Prabhupada, it's not that everything he must have interviewed. Yes, he interviewed, but yes, things are revealed also in the heart. That's how he could write in such a perfect manner. At 1 o'clock, Ellen Larson. After the first class, I had a short conversation, so maybe we'll just complete this chapter. Is that fine? It's 5 minutes maybe. With the Swamiji while sitting outside on a bench on the campus lawn. Most of the time when he was not directly engaged in conversation, he would repeat a short prayer while moving prayer beads through his fingers. He was sitting up cross-legged and we were speaking back and forth. He said the trees around us were beautiful and he asked, what kind of trees are these? I replied, they are shade trees. Then he said that it was too bad that they were not fruit or nut trees to provide food and benefit people. At 1 o'clock, Prabhupada lectured again. Afterward, he accompanied Dr. Mohan Sharma, a member of faculty who had attended the lecture, and his 16-year-old daughter, Minnie, to Dr. Sharma's campus residence. Prabhupada accepted warm milk and dried fruit, and at Dr. Sharma's request, blessed his home and touched the forehead of his daughter in a gesture of benediction. Around 3 o'clock, Professor Larson drove him back to Butler. Ellen Larson, the Swamiji seemed to present himself as an Indian scholar who had come for a short time to do translation work. I never thought of him as a missionary, but during the course of the day, there grew in me a warm affection for this man, because he was unmistakably a good man who had found this way to a stability and peace that is very rare. The lectures in Pennsylvania gave Prabhupada his first readings of how his message would be received in America. At Commonwealth Pier in Boston, he had stated in his poem, I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel glad and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. Now this principle was actually being tested in the field. Would they be able to understand? Were they interested? Would they surrender? So maybe we'll stop here because it may take maybe 10 more minutes. We cannot finish in 5 minutes. So yes, we see that here from the last 45 minutes reading, we saw that how Srila Prabhupada was so accommodative, so comfortable guest, so tolerant and patient for everything, and he didn't complain for anything. So that's how we should be. That's how a devotee has to be in their spiritual life. So one time there was one man called Crazy Peter. So this man came to, I think, Boston or somewhere. I'm not sure. In some temple he came. And he was very, very inconvenient for all the devotees, because he would come for the morning program and he he would just sit with beside a wall and he would fall asleep. Throughout the chanting, he would sleep only. And then he would not do any seva. So Giriraj Swami Maharaj was there, and Maharaj wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada that Srila Prabhupada, what to do with this man? He's just lazy, he's just sleeping, he's not doing anything, what to do with this man? And Prabhupada told that, be tolerant. Why can't we tolerate? Let's tolerate him. And after some time, this man went to Los Angeles, and then from Los Angeles, he went to New Vrindavan. And Giriraj Swami Maharaj couldn't see him for a long time. And then after 20 years, after 20 years, then Giriraj Swami Maharaj met him in one temple, and then he was shocked to see him because he never thought that this man will remain in the movement. And then he asked some devotees that who is this person? Who is this devotee? And they told he is a Kusagrava Prabhu. And they told that this is the devotee who has translated many Sanskrit literature into Bengali and English, which Giriraj Maharaj never thought. He thought that he is of no use. And now this person, because of mercy and tolerance of Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada was so much accommodative, he accommodated him, and then this man became, he translated many English literature, many Sanskrit literature, Goswamis which they left, he translated into not only in English, but even in Bengali also. So this is the unbounded mercy of Srila Prabhupada, which Srila Prabhupada was so much accommodative. So even in our, in our life also, we may find some people, or even we may find some people, we may think they are very less potential. But if we make them continue and allow them to get in touch with Srila Prabhupada mercy, then they may, who knows, they are going to become what? Who knows? Maybe they can become sannyasi also, who knows about it? And there are a lot of, it's not just I told one incident, but like that there are many incidents. There was another man, what was his name? I told this pastor before also. What was his name? Who was, I just forget, Chunk or something. His name was Chunk. He was lying in the bushes. He was just lying in the bushes. He was drunk. I think Maharaj, His Holiness Indradhan Swami Maharaj told this story, I think. So he was lying in the bushes. He was completely drunk. And Prabhupada was walking from there. And then he came because he heard this. He was just knowing Prabhupada. That's it. And he was so much having affection in regards to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was walking from there, he came out of the bushes and he wanted to touch the feet of Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada disciples were telling, no, what are you doing? You get lost from here. But Prabhupada was so compassionate, he told, let him touch. And this man touched the feet of Srila Prabhupada, and then as soon as he touched Srila Prabhupada's feet, he started, Jai Prabhupada, he started calling out like that. And then after 1-2 days, he was seen in the temple. And of course, still devotees were thinking, I don't know whether he will be potential man or not. But after 1-2 days, as all the devotees were going for book distribution, and then he came. I also want to go for book distribution. And he sat in the van, and then he went for book distribution. And finally, when evening, everybody came to know that he was the highest scorer of book distribution. So who knows who is going to become what? This is unlimited mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So this movement is a hope for the hopeless ones. We should not think, why should we accommodate anyone? So this movement is meant, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if you would like to give one statement to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is the hope for the hopeless. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada is also like that. Hope for the hopeless. At least I was hopeless. I'm still hopeless, but there is hope. So there is a hope in the life of devotees who have taken the shelter of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And definitely we keep continuing in the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. Definitely we will get one day. We'll get the perfection of life one day. So we'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu.
We saw one example that Srila Prabhupada was traveling in aeroplane with one Maharaj. So Prabhupada told that we should tolerate. But the Maharaj saw that Prabhupada is with him. So why should we tolerate that? They were smoking in front of Srila Prabhupada. So is that okay for a devotee? We should not tolerate.
Yeah. So however, it was okay from the part of Pushta Krishna Swami Maharaj to tell like that, because disciples shouldn't see his guru in any uncomfortable situation. But here what I emphasized is that Prabhupada's quality of being tolerant. Then Prabhupada was so tolerant that even though he was feeling uncomfortable, he was feeling inconvenient, but still he wanted to tolerate. So here, like we are not emphasizing the quality of being intolerant, quality of Pushta Krishna Swami Maharaj, but we are emphasizing the quality of tolerance of Srila Prabhupada. So it was good on the part of Pushta Krishna Swami Maharaj to be intolerant for Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada's quality of tolerant is being emphasized here. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta ki jai. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Pramanande.